Well, just like Mother Teresa. We are talking about a person who is ready to help anyone, even if he himself has almost nothing. But few people know that this charity was actually a religious fanatic, devoid of compassion. And, according to various estimates, Mother Teresa earned from $3 to $5 billion for the Catholic Church. Let's figure it out. Poverty, illness, disasters, Mother Teresa showed up at all more or less significant events. She whispered words of consolation, spoon-fed her, and called on her to pray. But there was no real help. Here's some interesting chronology. 1963, an earthquake occurred in Skopje, the capital of Macedonia. More than 1,000 people died, 3/4 of the buildings were destroyed. Mother Teresa blessed the employees of the American military hospital who were leaving for the capital of Macedonia, but did not allocate a penny from her fund to her hometown. The Americans stayed in the destroyed Skopje for 15 days. 10 of them went into setting up and dismantling the hospital. 5. At a photo shoot. By the way, 500 Soviet military engineers then worked in Macedonia for 6 months. 1984, at a chemical plant of the American company Union Carbide, located in the Indian city of Bhopal, a vat with toxic substances with a volume of 60,000 liters exploded. 4,000 people died immediately, 21,000 died within a few days. Almost 600,000 were injured, a disaster comparable to Chernobyl. Mother Teresa urgently came to the city and explained to the residents, this is God's punishment, so they need to humble themselves and pray. She managed to stop the actions against the company. A few years later, Union Carbide management paid almost $500 million to the victims and relatives of the victims. Not a single American employee was held accountable for the accident. 7 locals were convicted. And Mother Teresa's foundation received a tidy sum into the account. 1988, Mother Teresa's visit to the Armenian Spitak after the earthquake, which was widely covered in the press. But there is no mention that the victims were helped financially. 1993, an earthquake in the Indian province of Ladakh claimed the lives of 8,000 people. 5 million ended up on the street. Other organizations built houses for them, but Mother Teresa posed in front of them, not sending a penny to the victims. It all started on August 26, 1910, in the very capital of Macedonia, the city of Skopje. There, a girl, Agnes Gaj, was born into a wealthy family of Albanian Catholics. 1919, the head of the family, Nicolae Bohaciu, a nationalist who advocated the cleansing of Skopje from the Slavs, that is, Serbs, Macedonians and Bulgarians, and the annexation of the city to Albania, was killed. 1928, Agnes graduated from a Serbian gymnasium and went to Ireland, where she joined the monastic order of the Sisters of Loreto. She will never speak her native language again. When visiting Yugoslavia, she will begin to communicate through an interpreter. 1931, the girl takes monastic vows and takes the name Teresa. She is sent to Calcutta to teach at St. Mary's Girls' School. 1946, Jesus Christ supposedly appears to Teresa. He tells her to quit school, wear a sari and go help the poor. However, Mother Teresa was confused many times in her testimonies. She said, for example, that God regularly appeared to her from the age of 5. 1948, the authorities of Calcutta give Teresa the former temple of the goddess Kali. From now on there will be a house for the dying. The staff is recruited from the order founded by the nun, the Missionary Sisters of Love. 1969, the BBC will make a documentary about Mother Teresa. BBC journalist Malcolm Muggeridge, who made a film about Teresa, said, "It was wonderful that there was no electricity in the house for the dying, but the filming was a success because divine light appeared." And although cameraman Ken Macmillan later stated that it was simply the first time he had used the new Kodak film for night filming, in those days there was no internet and some operator could not shout down the powerful Air Force Corporation. And people are always more interested in reading about miracles than about new properties of film. As a result of powerful PR, the number of nuns of the order approached 5,000, volunteers, up to 40,000, more than 500 churches appeared in 121 countries of the world. And Mother Teresa began to be perceived as a saint. Hospices, care centers for the seriously ill, and social homes began to open everywhere. Although Mother Teresa still called them homes for the dying. What these houses for the dying actually were was told in the documentary Angel from Hell by Mary Loudon, who worked in one of them. The first impression was as if I was seeing footage from a Nazi concentration camp, since all the patients also had their heads shaved. The only furniture is folding beds and primitive wooden beds. 2 halls. In one, men slowly die, in the other, women. There is practically no treatment, only aspirin and other cheap drugs. There were not enough IVs, needles were used repeatedly. The nuns washed them in cold water. To my question, why don't they disinfect them in boiling water, I was told that this is not necessary and there is no time for it. I remember a 15-year-old boy who initially had the usual pain in his kidneys, but he got worse and worse because he did not receive antibiotics, and later he needed surgery. I said that in order to cure him, you just need to call a taxi, take him to the hospital and pay for an inexpensive operation. But they refused me this, explaining, if we do this for him, then we will have to do this for everyone. Mary's words were confirmed by the same volunteers of the shelters of the Order's Sisters of the Missionaries of Love. Medical professionals were not accepted into Mother Teresa's institutions. Those who visited there for inspection were horrified by the unsanitary conditions, but their indignant voice was drowned in a sea of laudatory speeches addressed to the Holy Woman. There is something beautiful in the way the poor accept their lot, the way they suffer like Jesus on the cross, Teresa admonished, prohibiting pain relief. The main task of the staff was to persuade the patients to accept the Catholic faith. The dying were baptized without asking, a wet rag on the forehead, prayer, that's it, he's a Catholic. Mother Teresa claimed that her organization feeds more than 1,000 people every day in Calcutta. According to Arup Chatterjee, a doctor who investigated the activities of Mother Teresa, there were only 3 soup kitchens, and they could feed a maximum of 100 people. Moreover, gruel was given only to those who had food cards. It was impossible for non-Christians to receive them. The saint also lied about the number of schools for 5,000 poor children, there was only one for 100 children. She also lied about the fact that volunteers pick up the infirm on the streets and take them to shelters. In fact, no one was picked up, and the ambulances donated to the order were used to transport the nuns. They say that documents were also discovered about the sale of children from the orphanage, but the matter was quickly hushed up. 1979 Mother Teresa is awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her work in helping suffering people. 1997 On March 13, Mother Teresa resigned from her duties as head of the Order of Mercy. 6 months later, on September 5, she died. Almost immediately, the Catholic Church began the process of beatification, followed by canonization. Although, according to the rules, this procedure can be started no earlier than 5 years from the date of death. And finally, 2016. In St. Peter's Square in Rome, in the presence of 120,000 people, Pope Francis canonized Mother Teresa. And for the Vatican she really was a saint. After all, according to the most conservative estimates, her activities brought the Vatican from $3 to $5 billion. This was the case when money has no smell. After all, Mother Teresa was of little interest in the origin of the species. In 1981, $1.5 million, $1.50, was given to Teresa by Jean-Claude Duvalier, the president of Haiti, the dictator. Nowhere have I seen such closeness between the poor and the head of state, Mother Teresa said hypocritically. Jean-Claude Duvalier gained power 10 years before Mother Teresa arrived at the age of 19 after the death of her dictator father. Haiti at that time was the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, where corruption and disease flourished, and where the Duvalier family committed tens of thousands of overt and covert political murders. She clearly liked the Republic of Haiti and its leader, and in 1983 she visited them again. This time, after saying that she was conquered by Duvalier's love for his people and that the people pay him in full in return, she was awarded the country's highest award, the Order of the Legion of Glory, and received another $1 million. Mutual love in Haiti ended after 3 years, when the people overthrew their beloved dictator, and he repaid his beloved people by stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from them, fleeing with them to his residence on the French Riviera. She also received money from Yasser Arafat, whom she met in Lebanon. The order's account was replenished after Teresa's visit to Albania. She had a nice chat with the country's leader, Ramiz Alia, and then laid a wreath on the grave of his predecessor, communist Enver Hoxha, who proclaimed his country the world's first atheist state, closing all churches and persecuting priests. Executions of clergy of all faiths continued throughout the entire period of his reign. But all this did not stop Nun Teresa from laying a wreath on the grave of Enver Hoxha and saying many praiseworthy words about him. Agnes Bohacchio later visited Enver's widow. About the new leader of Albania, she said that she was happy for my people, who have such a leader. The Albanian people did not appreciate their happiness and in 1992 removed Ramiz Alia from power, and a year later sent him to prison. British media tycoon Robert Maxwell stole $600 million from his employees' pension fund and sent part of it to Mother Teresa. American businessman Charles Keating, who also embezzled money from fund investors, snatched off the saint $1.25 million from his $252 million. When he was imprisoned, Teresa asked for leniency. Prosecutor Paul Turley suggested she return the stolen money to its owners. At this point the correspondence ended. Having made friends with Indira Gandhi, Teresa got her monastic order to be exempted from inspections. She advised journalists who asked awkward questions about spending money to talk to God. Shortly before her death, documents surfaced showing that about 7% of donations went to charity. The rest, including Teresa's Nobel Prize, was sent to the Vatican Bank in Rome and spent on the needs of the Catholic Church. What did this man believe in? Mother Teresa, as befits a Catholic, opposed abortion and divorce. But when it came to people with whom she was friends and from whom she could get a jackpot, her position changed. She supported Indira Gandhi in the forced sterilization of the poor and called Princess Diana's decision to divorce Charles the only correct one, since love had left the family. Teresa also demanded that contraception be banned. I did not accept the argument that they protect not only from conception, but also from certain diseases. AIDS is a fair retribution for wrong behavior, she argued. Mother Teresa preferred to travel around the world on private jets or first class. Moreover, the airlines themselves often paid for her flight. Teresa did not want to solve health problems in her centers, preferring U.S. clinics. Italy and India. She stated that she could not afford cataract surgery for $6.5 thousand at the St. Francis Clinic in Pittsburgh, and a year later she had the operation at the New York Medical Center, even more expensive. During heart surgery, Teresa never refused pain medication in order to suffer like Jesus. She spent the last months of her life in a room stuffed with modern equipment. It is interesting that the Catholic Church can canonize a person if he has performed a miracle, which turned out to be not so easy to find. At first they tried to declare it as such. Disappearance of a malignant 17-centimeter tumor in the stomach of Indian woman Monica Barat. Allegedly, on the anniversary of Mother Teresa's death, the woman's sister applied a diseased medallion to her stomach, which was used to touch the body of the future saint on the day of the funeral. She prayed, and soon the tumor resolved. But the husband of the cured woman admitted, his wife did not have cancer, but an ovarian cyst, and the doctors dealt with it. Teresa's declaration of sainthood was postponed until we find a more suitable miracle. A resident of Brazil, Marcilio Haddad Adriano, suffered from brain cancer. his wife Fernanda prayed to Mother Teresa and everything passed. Doctors were not involved in that story, so it was impossible to confirm or deny it. This is how she is, Mother Teresa. So now, if you hear this phrase, well, just Mother Teresa, you will immediately remember how ambiguous it sounds. Thank you for watching and see you on our channel.